Ladies, I just wanted to say that I'm going to answer in Chamorro. I'm gonna try to speak as much Chamorro as possible. But
Oh, Hunget. Oh,
if you want me to translate, just let me know, okay?
oh, here. Oh, dispensa, senor.
Esta.
We're getting started. We're getting
Okay,
started
Molly.
now.
Okay, está.
Okay. Naizo un rapto. Spectac este. Let's see if the, oh, okay. We might even be going live on Instagram this time too. Oh, wait. Let me just check. Okay. Naizo un rapto. Spectac este. Oh, yeah, Hungen. Matsotso. All right. Half a day. Todos hamzu gwena hujung inan husi. Michael Lujan Bevacqua and go jet lag. Jeanette lag ju. I'm very jet lagged. I look wait. Hungan. Normally I'm speaking to you from one time zone. Today I'm speaking to you from a completely different time zone, but I am still here with another episode of the Fanatsu podcast. For this week, we are focusing on learning Chamorro journeys. This is Imina Gunom, the sixth episode in this series. And I'm very excited for this series because this series originally just started a few years ago in my Zoom Chamoru classes, which I have every week. And I had an open spot in the schedule. And I was realizing that, you know what, in the Fanatsu podcast schedule, and I was realizing, oh man, taimano na be nabula, if you know English, be nabula. How am I going to fill this spot? And then I thought, you know what? Untungo hadzi mo necesita esta clase recognition. Do you know who needs recognition nowadays? People who are learning Chamorro. And so I put it out to my students in my Zoom classes who would be interested in talking about their Chamorro learning journeys. And most, in truth, were very embarrassed and shy about it. And but people talk to me a lot about their Chamorro learning journeys. They share that, they've had this struggle or they've had these successes. But when I wanted to create a platform in which they could talk to others about it, a lot of them manunuk, manatuk, manmalogo, suddenly they disappear because it's like, oh no, I don't want to. But this actually made me feel this actually really made me feel that it made me feel very certain. Muna seguro na isinintete ko por este. Muna fit me. It made me really certain that we need more spaces like this. Because for if you are watching this, if you're listening to this, then you've probably tried to learn the Chamorro language. You are probably trying to learn the Chamorro language, whether actively or passively. The Chamorro language is important to you, and then maybe you've had experiences where people tease you, people make you feel like you're less of a Chamorro because you can't speak the language. And so this is why this space is so important, is because rather than feel like there's something wrong with you and then getting stuck in that feeling that something is wrong with you, na tinahong hao, guaha problema mo timismuts timagat na tsamoru hao. Instead of that, we focus on the fact that everybody's learning tomorrow. Everybody's got questions. Whether you are the most Angel Santos of Angel Santos Chamorros, the most Chief Harao of Harao Chamorros, or whether you are a Chamorro who sleeps at night and Fauna herself whispers ASMR episodes to you, and you've got the deep matrilineal Magahaga Chamorro in you, whatever it is, or if you are a Chamorro who knows you're a Chamorro but doesn't have a word of Chamorro in you, you know, we're all on a journey. We're all on a journey. We're all in a sakman. And so this Learning Chamorro Journey series started off with this in mind, creating a space where people who are far along in their journey, who speak the language, for those who are new in their journey, for those who are just starting, where they can talk and they can share so that others, whether they are fluent speakers who can see that their role in this shouldn't be to put down, shouldn't be to make others feel shame, but should be to support, to uplift, to educate, but also those who have felt who are struggling, who are looking for resources, looking for people to practice with, they can realize that there's plenty of others out there who are also looking for the same thing. So you're not struggling alone in this way. So this is the sixth episode in this series, and so I'm thankful for the three students that we have now, Gihal Mestina Zoom, and then I know that we might have a few more who will be stopping by in the Zoom room. Lo, Hafade Hamzu Natres, Malagzu Benai Hamza. I want to give you a chance to introduce yourselves. First off, just and Senor Chris Hogofinetna Putfabo, we'll begin with you, but just tell us Hadzina Anmu, Hadzi Familiamu, and then did you grow up in Guam in the Marianas? Did you grow up in the States or somewhere else? So just tell us who you are, tell us about your roots. And Senor Chris Hogofinetna Putfabo. Oh, Senor T.O. Opanho, dispensa.
Ay, ade. Dispensa. Buenas todos. Buenas todo hamzu ni mangaigi go na hotso. Inanhu si Christine Jesus Carbolito Bethe. Itataho si defunto Francisco Arceo Carbolito y familia Cut Bezido. Inanahu si defunta Ernestina Babalta Jesus Carbolito. Afenyago giza Islan Guahan sa kumahulu gui esta hudingu the isla and I sumano gi US Air Force.
Sidzus Masi. Sidzus Masi, senora, Sidzus Masi. And then Hungan and Jocelyn Buenti Hogopogo. Let's go over to Jocelyn now. Put for what?
Happy day, everybody. My name is Jocelyn Titanfong Calmario. On my mom's side, we are Titanfong and Flores, Familia Cabeza. And on my dad's side, it's San Augustine and Ubin, Familia. I can't remember off the top of my head. Curincho. So I identify as a second generation born Chamorro American, born stateside. My dad was born back on island, but I am closer to my mom's side and grew up with them. We are a military family. I think technically like third generation, like military brat, military spouse. So I am the only daughter on my mom's side. And, taking this class has made me see and kind of reconnect with how strong the women are in our culture, equally alongside how strong the men are in our culture. But with my journey with taking this class, it has kind of also brought up like the trauma, the generational trauma that I am choosing to not deal with, but get through. And especially this alongside goes with my journey with parenthood. I am now a mother to my Magahaga, and my husband is actually Hispanic. So there's a big emphasis for me to take this class, do my own research, find all the resources, and perhaps that maybe it'll be easier for my daughter when she gets to my age. And putting both influence on how strong both sides of her family are. So thank you for having me today.
Oh, Sidzus Masi, Jocelyn. And Jara Kogage Hogano Chamarita 671 Hungan.
Half a day. Okay, sorry, what did you guys want me to say again? Malefadzu.
No, just introducing myself was Hadzina Anmu and then Hadzi Familiamu. And then did you grow up in the islands or in the States and anything like that, just to give people a sense of who you are and then your roots?
Oh, hasta. Well, na anhu si Jara. Um, I was born and raised in Oka Tamuning, Guam, but I moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia for school. I wanted to do music. I want to become like Dr. Bevacqua already knows that I want to be like the Chamorro Whitney Houston. Because we don't have a lot of like Chamoru singers, and it's like Whitney Houston sounds amazing. So it's like, what if we just put like two and two together and just have like a Chamorro Whitney Houston? I think make some bangers, and have a lot of younger people kind of gravitate towards, okay, well, what is she speaking? Okay, well, where is she from? And they'll see where I'm from. They'll see what I'm speaking, and more people want to learn Chamorro and learn about us because we're making some bangers. um I guess I would say something that's a little difficult about like my learning journey. I already knew Chamorro. Like I spoke, I spoke Chamorro growing up and everything. Chamorro is my first language. But when I came to the United States, I ended up being surrounded by, American friends who speak English, and I'm the only Chamorro in my city right now. So I'm alone and I don't really have anyone to speak Chamorro with or hang out with, or I kind of have to do all of our traditional, all of our customs by myself in my house, or, when I meet friends and I tell them about it, that's the only chance I get to like share who we are. And I'm sorry, that's my Andrew. My bad. But that's the only time that I get to share like who we are and our language. And I do my best to tell them everything and teach them, we are very kind people and very loving people. And, it just sometimes it's very lonely when you're the only one of your own kind somewhere. So I wanted to join, these Chamorro classes, not only to get the rust off of my Chamorro, but really to be here with you guys. I wanted to be around my family. I'm from, right, I forgot the family part. I'm from the Solis Cruz family. I don't know if anyone may know them, but my grandmother, her name was Joanna Cruz, Inanahu. Her name was Nadia Solis Cruz. And yeah, so you guys might know them, might not know them, but yeah. Right now, currently, I'm the only one left in my family too. My family, they all, passed away. So I really am alone. Besides my spouse, I I have a husband that I met out here. I met him in my high school. And yeah, he's really, besides him, I by myself, I teach him as well tomorrow. And I try to tell him that the best teacher is a teacher that's always learning, because you can never know everything. You can never know too much, and you can never stop learning. So I try to make sure everything Dr. Bevacqua teaches me, I teach him as well. I also go on one of our classmates. I think she's in our Zooms, but her blog is called Lenguajita. I get a lot of our lessons that I teach him on there, and also from Dr. Bevacqua. Let me steal some of his lessons. But I just try to keep our Chamorro language alive, because all it takes is one person to know it and one person that's willing to learn, and it'll keep the language alive. And my children, they'll be part Chamorro, part American, and they will know Chamorro. And my friends, when I had friends, I taught some of them Chamorro. My husband, he's never spoken Chamorro. He's heard of Guam, but he's never even breathed in the direction of the Marianas until he met me. Now all of a sudden, he likes tropical this, tropical that, tropical. Everything's just tropical with him. But he hasn't spoken a lick of English lick of Chamorro when I first met him. But now he can speak a whole sentence, and it's amazing.
Esticaling ambassador, how we need to get G in touch with you. You'll be the ambassador, the Chamorro ambassador for Philadelphia, for Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But hey, no,
Sorry that was so long.
no, bonito, no. This is Gofzahuesti. Thank you all. Thank you, the three of you, for sharing, because the episode is Chamorro learning journeys. And so, whatever you share in terms of Senora Chris shared about her, her family, and that's important because that's where she gets, as she's going to share, as she's going to talk about, that's where she gets the Chamorro language from that she wants to pass on and help others learn. And then, of course, and then Jocelyn talks about then, of course, now wanting to build a Magahaga, the next generation in the States. And then, of course, Chamarita 671 planning the next phase of the Chamorro evolution, which
Okay.
is basically, getting on one of those shows where, what is it, the people like turn their chairs around or something, or there's the big
The
X's over them, and
Voice.
The
then
The
Voice.
Voice.
yeah,
Yes.
but then
Dude,
you
I
like sing a
want to go
Chamorro
on there
song.
so bad.
Yeah, and then just sing a Chamorro song though, but then blow them away with the power of your voice, but then sing it in Chamorro. Anyways, it'll be
Yeah,
good,
that's what
and
I
then
was gonna
and, uh,
do.
and then give them some Kelagwan manok too after to seal the deal and some finadini. All right. Okay. No, so we've got a good start to this. We've already got a bunch of people that are tuning in and that are watching. And so, por favor, please, if you are watching, comment and then share some of your own experiences. But if you are a classmate, of our guests today, show your support, give them a biba. If you'd like to show your support for them sharing and talking about their learning, their journeys and learning and sharing the Chamorro language. And so the next question that I want to ask, and we'll start, Senora Chris Hago-Finetna, is just to the question of, and some of you have already talked about it, but what is your relationship to the Chamorro language? Was it something that you heard a lot around you? Was it something that you've heard very rarely at all? And then, this is an important question now, thing for us to confront nowadays, because I think in the past, it was just a given that even if you didn't speak Chamorro, everyone older than you spoke Chamorro. But what we find now is, especially for families in the States, if you find those who are Manamku, if you find Chamorros in their 60s and 70s, it's common for Chamorros in their 60s and 70s in the States to not even be able to speak Chamorro now, just because because of the differences in migration, the fact that they might have been out there for so long, no one to speak to, and so on. And so what is your relationship growing up and through your life? Was Chamorro always around you, or was it something emphasized, or was it something that was de-emphasized, teased about? And so, Senora Chris Hago Finetna put for what?
Again, sejus masi, and I hope so. This the tune commentus, commentus if you know English. Low, makuntutu si if you tomorrow. Kada dia to the dia, and I send hobinzo. Huhunguk I finot tomorrow low, and I ma fanat gridzu commentus ma fanat gridzu if you know English. And I laam kutzu masangani zu and I malagut zu commentus gifino tomorrow masangani zu mga commentus gifino tomorrow sa sempre anak baba I English mo sa edu I lingua himu paggun the tempo. The man malago hutungo paggulo and I hoping to gifting sa hafa na eduha na sinyahu sa gi ay lekuna tibikati dispensa and I hoping ti man malago siya na huru opisiha gi fino tomorrow lo sen malago sa malago umusa I lingwahe ni uhung todo tempo gi orizahu gigima lo kada biyay hutsagi ma masangani na opiduk ifino English sa enaw I parahagu enaw I lingwahimu sa esti na tiempo todo esti siya na gi hungen gaigiha gizagahan sa esti kutaramu lo parahagu necesita tumungo senmet na necesita na una senmet gut ifino mo gifino English. Pues edzu, I linat lahu. Kaki na mga Englishes, kaki kita lang ahu ifino tomorrow lo. Tisinya humuzung gifino English. I mean, gifino gilau. Tisinya humuzung gilau. Pues, anay gipatot hu tisinya humuzung sa tidebi. Lo humo kifino tomorrow gigima, an monos pay parentesu, monos pay gimatsuus. Lo parehuha gi eskolahu gi zama karmo gi zahagat. Timasisedi na sina commentus ifamagun gi lingua pues taja fino English sa todo tempo y escola en teculo taja lo que guina tempo taja fino Chamoru gi lenguaje gi departamento en lenguaje sia lo medjak du fino Japonés. Pues like usaha pa na guag fino Japonés lo taja fino Chamoru guni malagod so medjak da malik zanging guahamon guina tempo leksyon English leksyon Chamoru no lo taja pues udingu itanohu za monog Air Force za ginin gidurantin I karirahu gi Air Force 40 años Hassan na man man guaha guaha Chamoru ni man ngunguntus gi fino Chamoru Hassan and man ali ham man ngunguntus ham gi fino English but ocho na lenguaje en man gaigi ham gi Italy man ngunguntus ham Italiano sa edu intitigri an man gaigi ham gi ciudad lo gi za Estipago gi za Virginia guaha manamoro gwini lo imanomku and mangagi gwini in manomku na hu anay manungut na guaha manomku gwini malagut mga comments sensiha lo ay dididia na sinyahu sa zamamalaw sa tisinya humujungi Chamoru ilingwahihu lo uli na gwanabay mamalaw sa mamalaw kala ihanasoku mo handaw pa na natano hinasun tisinya utogu esti pues 20 mandora lo gifino English i mangatongu i tauto ni man tori tauto ni utungu masangongan nyo na Chris sen malati ho lo gifino English lo gifino Chamoru ti sen malati za pagu na umehedzak zu dispensa zu ni fanota sen makuvu za hutungo hafa ilelek na si dispensa zu I ocho na studenti guni
Si Jocelyn?
Si Jocelyn and I like na put itit no inarasyon siya hunggan magahira zu sa bula set no taiguihi I talto I manamoru especially dispensa so kololot niya I talto ni man gaigi gera and I man gagagi na tempo and I man gagara gitanota no sa tigerata edu gi and I mamotu I Japones gi tanota I Americano zan Japonesi edu gerania edu lo gaigi tanota za itautau I man namoru or itauto ni man gaigi gui sa ti man todu man smoru ni man gaigi gui lo ma susedi edu za bula na piniti gui na tempo ti na huzum za pues gaigi sa ti mangwentus por edu sa mangi I tautauta siya, no mangi na tautau siya. Za edza malagot niya po maliit I na maulik itano, maulik sinya man boka I famagon niha, ti mababam I tano, man magu siya no, lo ti bulan na tautau ni man lotla gi finapo I gera tibula siya ni mangwentus po di gera. Yun nahu dyan tatahu ma 26 and 23 años siya gi tempo ni gera, gi tituho ni gera, pues 29 ha, no? Si tatahu dyan inanahu, anay makpo I gera. Za sen bula la zu tisinya hula gi hinasoku hafa masusedi para I2 dan I3 na dikikit na famagon niha gui na tempo. Za ilekun na Paraguahu hu disedi na bebe tungu I finota za kada hu tungu maspo I finohu kalan humuhudzongi I todo I pinitin I mananahu. That siya ha I mananaita sa I manamoro ni ma partori tempo gui na tempo no sa man Americano tatlo za man halom Americano za man wentus ki fino English za todo Paraguahu I manitluhu ni man laam ko man Tisine mangentus ki finot niha, ma kasitigas siha, anti mangentus ki fino English ha, za anay matuzu, guahum, this is, guahum mina kinsina pat kuniha, anay kumahuluzu, edzat like niya, estil inat lot mo, munga muna, munga komentus ki fanota sempre ha ana apa tu ana kalan tika pas how anti untungu edu na linguahi lo ayade pagu tungu na tika pas zu sa titungu I linguahi hu tisinya hu na hujung I linguahi hu patodo ju na tempo lo pagu na humuzung sinya husangan na hu comprendi hafa na masusedi edu Paraguahu lo pagu na humuhuzung I finohu hu sesenti todo edu siha na piniti kinin I manamoru gui na tempo. Za pagu estigui za sinya hit pagu si just masi senyor Bevacqua na unsok-sokgui esti para hami sa un susedi Paraguahu na sinya zo pagu sinya zo komento sinya humuzung todi ju na palabra siya ni tiu usa gitodo ili na lahu lo pagu usa za hutunga na kalan guaha sumangan na esta kapashal Senora Chris lo ahi timagahi deju esta matai ju 20 kapas ju sa titungu todo sinya hutungu gi finota sa titungu guaha bulan experience I tau ni man matu man motna kini guahu za todo ju linguahi niha gui na tempo malagot zot na be tungu za Basiga manungo esta ki mapuso ininesti na tono. It's a good dispensers.
No, señora Sidus Masi, mega nine Sidus Masi no. No, gov din nancy na una hahasuhit na i safa na gosen preciso lugar taiguini na para ilenguajita. Sa atan na itautaw san hidzong na masangani itautaw na oh no, tisinyon usa lenguaje mo giesti na lugar, tisinyon usa giesti na lugar. Fino inglés para todo el mundo. E não o lenguaje mo para hinasomo ha para gihola mi gima, gihola mi familia. So, pues atana, pues para ocho na generación y manhoben y famaguna y matungo el lenguaje lo tisini malakno si palabras. Sa hungan, sa dumoko y semidzas lo tibrobu y tinanum. Sa timatendi, timarega. Pues debrita na i mas somnak, mas hanum, mas lugar, mas oda, todo esti ha necesita. And so pues ha necesita mas campo, more spaces for this. And so hungan, lo, sidus mas isa, hungan. And aide, hungan. And for those of you who are watching, hungan, Senora Chris was just reminding us that one of the things that her generation was told was that Chamorro and English were both around them, but English was emphasized. English was heavily emphasized, but the problem was, of course, that then you have questions about who you are, because Chamorro is still a part of you. And then the next generation has more questions about this language is still here, but why wasn't I given this language? And this is, as we have been discussing, ipinitini umapasa papanay generasyon, intergenerational trauma. And so the trauma that just gets passed down. And so we have to find ways of dealing with that. We have to get ourselves used to using the language, putting the language out there. And we also then have to, unfortunately, help some of our own family members and some of our own friends rethink how they learn, how they interact with their own nieces, nephews, children, grandchildren, right? Because, and we want to go to Jara and to Jocelyn now, but I want to ask everybody, especially those of you who are listening or watching, if you've ever tried to ask for help from elders, ever talked about the importance of the Chamorro language, but being somebody who couldn't speak Chamorro, and then having people respond and say, you can't speak Chamorro, what's the matter with you? Or, oh, you're not really Chamorro then because you can't speak Chamorro. And how that becomes something that depresses, pushes you back, makes it harder. So maybe you keep going, but then you feel like you don't have support of your family, like they might not. And so, but imagine then if we got our families, our friends used to the idea that when somebody, a niece, a nephew, a grandchild, a son, a daughter came to them and said, I want to learn Chamorro, instead of saying, how come you can't speak Chamorro? What's the matter with you? Instead of that, they would say, how can I help you? How can we help you? Because everyone says this, most people say now Chamorro is important. How can we help? And that's why we create spaces like this, so we can get ourselves stronger and also help others understand why it's better to help. Or, I mean, teasing is also important too in the culture, but don't tease your niece or nephew that just want to learn Chamorro. Okay, let's so Jocelyn, the question to you now around because you've mentioned that the next generation for you, passing the language on is important, but for you, do you want to talk about your own experiences around Chamorro? Do a lot of people speak it to you? Do you not hear a lot of Chamorro? Por favor.
Well, before I answer that, I do want to thank you, Senora Chris, for your vulnerability. You know, I hear Senor say, you know, there are people who are Posito for life. So I'm working on changing my narrative that I'm just Posito right now, you know, and that's fine. And I own it, I accept it. We're all on our own journey at different levels together. And despite me not being fluent, um, your vulnerability, your emotions, the that was universal and had me in tears. And I know that you had said my name, but I wanted to thank you for that because I have been praying for my sign to be with me. Please don't break down. Please don't break down. But I didn't want that to stop me from being present. And now that I am, you know, on this podcast with everyone, I'm like, well, maybe my me putting myself out there and just participating, showing up, there's someone that is gonna listen to this now or listen to this in the future who can see a bit of themselves in all of us. So thank you for starting that off because I have like a handkerchief right here just ready if I need to cry. And thank you, Senor, for just providing the safe space for all of us. So before I start, could I ask you to translate what you had said, like around the time you had mentioned my name?
Oh, I was saying that you mentioned the generational trauma that you were trying to overcome. And I know all about that. And this really opened that up for me. This experience, this learning journey has opened that up for me. And actually, I got more than I bargained for because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And as the words started to come, there are a lot of words still back here in my head that I have not opened and let out in Chamorro. And but I know they're there, but I haven't had the I don't have the capability to bring it out sometimes. You know, it's as if there's just that part of me that hasn't evolved yet. And as evolved a person as I think I am today, I do not feel complete without this. And because of the trauma that had come from the act of speaking our tongue, this tongue is Chamorro. It's spoken English all its life, but this tongue is Chamorro and it's found out it's Chamorro. So it was trying to come out, you know, and a lot of it has come out, but I know there's so much more that I don't know. And I have to discover that about myself. And essentially, that was it. And of course, there were a lot of things about the generations. I come in a family, there's 16 of us, and there's about 2 or 3 generations in it, right? Of just my siblings and me. There's 16 of us, 22 years in there, right? And our parents, our grandparents at the time were alive at one time in my life where all of us were there, well, except for my grandmother on my father's side. She had passed when my father was sick, so I didn't get her in my life, but the rest of them were there for my life. And in that time, there was so much that was not spoken about the war, about pre-war, about pre-Americans, right? The pre-American colonialism. I'm sorry. They didn't talk about any of that. They just talk about this is our life now. This is what we're going to do. Go, go, go. And of course, my parents are having all these children. So, you know, we've got to raise these. And oh, there's another environment here with the newer ones, but still no English. I mean, no Chamorro spoken, you know, when we send our children out. So the older ones got punished a lot for speaking their language. And then when it came to me, number 15 in the family, I wasn't allowed to speak. So imagine hearing it around you all the time and not being given permission to speak. And I was a very, I'd say meek child, I was very obedient to my parents as when I was young. And so, but there was a lot inside. I was doing the same thing they were doing, holding on to the pain. And so when this opportunity came, my daughter was the one that brought it to me and said, here, come in front of the screen. She was in class, in Miguet's class, Senor Miguet's class. And there it opened the entire Pandora's box of all the things that I could never say were about to open, were about to come through my tongue. That was it, pretty much.
Well, thank you for reiterating that. You said everything so beautifully. I enjoyed hearing your story. It empowered me. It also took some pressure off of me because I'm afraid if I'm going to cry too. So thank you for that.
No, I've cried enough tears for everybody, so you don't have to. Yeah. just hold that and let it give you strength, because I wish it were done for me, but that's okay. It's okay to be the pioneer. It's all right. We got Magahaga and all of us.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Senor, so your question, what is my relationship to the Chamorro language?
But feel free to take it, but take it in any direction you'd like, though. The question's just there to get you started, because I'm enjoying you and Senor Chris, your conversation as well. So, put fabot hamzulamun.
Thank you. So for some background, I grew up in a multi-generational home. I grew up in my grandparents' home. They had already retired. Both sides of my grandparents were drafted into the Vietnam War, decided to retire in Washington State. From what I was told, my uncle told me that before retirement, he remembers being like one of the 6 Islander families like in the area, and being so happy to see someone that his parents, my grandparents, knew. So going back to me, it was spoken a lot in the home, obviously, with my grandparents, or if my Nana's sisters came over. And so at the time, it kind of was associated with with grown-up talk. They're gossiping. This is like, you are not part of this conversation. But to change that narrative too, it was almost like a lullaby to hear something in the background so soothing. And when I took this class, the orientation that I love that Senor, that you do is you have to find your why. And tying my why to my grandparents, who are in that stage where they are passing on, it's kind of reliving that grief, bringing up, the trauma as I uncover stories. And that's something that I'm working through. But whenever I do feel my emotions work up, I do have to work myself through learning their story. And so with that being said, I'm going back to my background, because my dad did end up joining. So I was around the Chamorro community in Washington. Everybody knows everybody. Class of 1959 was all up in Tacoma, Washington, But then I moved away from that because my dad joined in 99. So then it's a very similar story of not being around anybody, being lonely, going to different parts of the US where we don't have a big community, trying to, put our roots down, but then also taking that time to learn another culture during our time there. I am fortunate I got to spend my summers in Washington, and I've had the opportunity to go back to Guam, which it's something I wish, and it's a goal of mine to give that opportunity to my daughter. But as I've gotten older, I reflect back on and thank my grandparents for something that being in this class has taught me was, despite the ingrained shame that my grandparents were assimilated to back on the island, and then being both of them being employees of the federal government, that they tried to do things over. So they did do am I saying this right, Senor Pokse? The informal adoption. So they did adopt me, and I'm blessed for that. I love how there's no negative connotation within our culture for that. And I'm very proud of them that despite all of their trauma, you know, they did not pursue like a higher education, that they found their own path and we're like, we're going to try our best to do things differently with the resources we have available. So I am thankful that I got to hear it, but they didn't teach it. But I got to learn the history like of my family, where things are, you know, back on Guam, how they lived. And I feel like that has helped me get through with overcoming that hurdle of the next step is for me to be able to learn the language. You know, I don't know if it's because I just hit 30. I hear that there's some type of what is it, like midlife crisis, identity crisis. All of that is intertwined right now. And so it's just been perfect timing in my life that these classes have been presented to me. But every time I've taken it, which I've taken your first class back in lockdown, and that is when the floodgates started of one, I was just so happy that there was a formal ish, you know, resource out there, which you are doing on your own. I'm so thankful for you, Senor. But every time I've taken that class, it's like I've yearned, and it's something I felt my whole life is like, well, how come there was never like a tomorrow class I could take? Like I could go in the store and I can see Spanish and German. I could take a French class in high school, but never for me, never for my language. So you know, I feel that, and then I do feel that shame. And it's something that as I formally learn our culture, I always refer back to like Yanakamala. And while I see that Mamala, that shame is perhaps more humility, I'm like, why am I having a hard time like processing this shame? Ashamed of myself that, you know, academically I'm struggling to learn another language. Um, while processing, you know, what my grandparents had gone through and how there isn't a lot of support from my family, be it that trauma embarrassment that's been ingrained and feeling like I'm doing this by myself. But I take it day by day. I feel like some of my family has turned around. I have received books, you know, to help with my learning. And my daughter has received books too for Christmas or for special occasions. So I'm happy it's slowly becoming normalized. I inherited my maternal great grandmother, so my Nana's mom, her prayer books that date back late 1800s. And it's like, it's a whole, you know, sacred moment for me to look at them. And I'm like, thinking my Nana, you know, was reading these and it helped her get through whatever she was going, you know, in her life. That kind of like you, Senora Chris, when the tongue is tomorrow. And so there are times where I feel so empowered. I feel my signer behind me trying to help me get the words out. And it's me overcoming that shame. Like, you know, I can do it. So we do our best. I try to put on like, you know, the OG songs that I can find on YouTube. So it's normalized for my daughter as I try to learn fluently. This past Christmas, I actually like did the rosary and like taught my daughter the Panmaku Manhangi. So alongside that, you know, we all have that inner child. And so there are times where, you know, it's hitting me that like I am that next generation. And so dealing with those feelings is healing that inner child of mine, or reminding me that my Nana and Tata would be so proud to overcome something that maybe they weren't able to, you know, within their lifetime. I do feel all of that shame come at once, and it's something that you have to challenge that negative thought to get through it, to get to the other side. So let me see, what was the other question you had? Senor, I know you had written them
No,
down before.
no. Just Masi, just Masi.
Thank you.
That and I do want to, and I want to give Jara a chance to also share and can share in any way too, responding to the question about sort of the Chamorro language and where it is around you, but then feel free to take it also into your music, your aspiring music career as well, because you know, I'm always down to translate songs for people for free into Chamorro, so that there be more Chamorro out there. But I just did want to comment that Jocelyn, the fact that you're doing the Nobena and that you're doing it in Chamorro, that's very important because it's so many families who still have Chamorro speakers are doing it in English. And they're saying that they're doing it because everyone speaks English now and people want to understand. And it's like, wow, it's calling Ti Catholicudzo. I'm not Catholic, but it's like one of the lessons, right, is that there's hardship and there's sacrifice in these stories too. And so shouldn't the lesson be then, Agentiun comprendi, pues debidiun comprendi. Debidiun edzak. You should learn some Chamorro and you can still practice and you can still read. But the fact that if you and your family, even if not everybody is fluent and not everybody is the world record speed Tetsa, the marathon Tetsa, if you can make it a normal thing in your family that you do the rosary and Chamorro, it creates a foundation for your children, which
Absolutely.
which is so important because then when they look back, they'll think, well, even if the language is disappearing around them, they'll be like, but our family still does the rosary and Chamorro because our mom and our grandma, back in the great pandemic of the 2020s, she said, we're gonna do it tomorrow. And maybe she had a Chadi accent. We don't know what her accent was like. It was a long time ago. But she said, we're gonna do it in tomorrow night. It's gonna be tomorrow. And then that's why we do it in Chamorro. We keep it alive that way. But you create the foundation. And that's what we forget nowadays, is because we too easily allow the algorithms, the trends, the changes in technology to dictate things for us. But we can make a stand like that, and we can just say, you know what, things are changing, of course. We can't control everything. Si zuus zuus, si tauto tauto ha. But we can decide what the novena is going to be, and we're going to do it in Chamorro. And so, okay. All right, Jara, now Holgo. And we're gonna go 10 minutes over because we started a little bit late, and then I'm gonna tell the practice group we're gonna start late there, but because I want to keep this going. Por favor, go ahead, Jara.
All right. Sorry. So, I'm just sharing about like my learning experience.
Good. And
Okay.
anything that you want to share in terms of if it's been difficult, because you've already shared about the difficulty in feeling isolated, and it's important to share that too, but if you want to talk about has we may not get to it, but if your family's been supportive or if your family hasn't been supported in your learning, any of those types of topics too that you want to get into.
Okay. Well, I guess for one, let me just say, it is extremely hard being like the only one of your kind. Oh my God, I don't want to cry, but being the only one of your kind. And it's like, it feels like a nightmare because it's like a peek into what would happen if there were no more Chamorros or no more, like, no one else to speak Chamorro, no one else to hear our music, no one else around this Chamorro, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. But that's why I want to, use my talent of singing and making music because I don't want that to happen. I want the world to know who we are, and learning about, honestly, like I said, Chamorro was my first language, and a lot of times I already know about what we be learning in the Zoom classes. I just come so I can be around you guys, because, like I said, my whole family's dead. I don't really have anyone but you guys, for real, And when I first came to Philadelphia, I used to sound like Chad. So I had friends that used to make fun of me because of my Chamorro accent. And I had to like blend in with everyone out here because at school people used to make fun of my hair. A girl in my class, I had really long hair, but she cut my hair and she did it out of spite, and they would make fun of the words I would say in Chamorro. They would make fun of, I actually got first place in my high school talent show for singing Hagu by Flora Bazakwan, and I got first place for it. And yeah, no one understood a thing I was saying, but somehow I got first place. But it's just, I don't know, I really want us to keep each other alive and keep our language alive, because all we have is each other. No one else is going to help us. Everyone else wants us to stop speaking our language. Everyone is going to try their hardest to stop you from doing what makes you you. And you have to try just as hard to keep pushing yourself. As much as someone's telling you you can't do something, you have to be that same voice that says you can. Because, like I said, living out here where there's no other Chamorros around, it's a nightmare. And over my dead body, if I let our culture just die like that, We're beautiful people. We are. And we have beautiful music, and we have beautiful lifestyles, and we teach beautiful lessons. Mr. Maggette, I know he's tired. He goes to work. He has kids. He has a family. He be stressed out. It's just written, stressed. And he still comes and he still teaches all of us every day. Like, he's tired. I always say, you look tired, but he puts that to the side and he comes and teaches Chamorro. And, I thank you. I thank you for that. And I'm not going to and also, Miss Chris, Senora Chris, speaking Chamorro, making sure that you're keeping Chamorro around. Everyone's doing their part to keep this alive. So I want to make sure I do my part. And, being the first to do something is always going to be the hardest. But I'm not looking for easy. I'm looking for possible. Like, to be the first the first Chamorro Whitney Houston, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to be facing so much. People are going to tell me that I can't do it. People are going to tell me, music records are going to say, you can't make this kind of music because no one understands it. Okay, we'll teach them. Teach them then, Find people who do understand. There's people who can write English lyrics, Look at Selena Quintanilla. She's saying in Spanish and English, So it just takes one person to say, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. And, it'll make the big difference. And whatever any of you guys want to do, I believe in all of you, no matter what. Dr. Bevacqua, I believe in you to be the best teacher in the whole world. Miss Chris, I believe in you to be whatever you want to be. And you too, Jocelyn, and everyone who's watching. All we have is each other, This world is going to try to break us up and break us down. They've already tried. They try to wipe us out. They try to wipe our language out. All we got is each other. We got to keep it alive, and we got to keep each other alive the best way that we know how. And it's going to be hard, but we can do it. We can. We're Chamorro. We're strong. We got this. But a lot of time, yeah, that's what honestly, not to drag it on or anything, but I love Chamorro because it's who I am. I used to be made fun of for how I wear the flower in my hair every single day. This isn't just for the occasion. I wear it every single day. And I speak Chamorro every single day. And I wear my necklaces every single day. And I used to be ashamed of it because I had friends who made fun of me. But now I look at them and say, listen, if you don't accept Guam, you don't accept Chamorro, you don't accept me. I don't need to turn into you, or you. I need to be who I was meant to be. I was born in Okatamuning, Guam on June 9th, 2002. Okay, not you. You were born where you were born. I was born where I was born. Okay, I'm a Chamorro. Nice to meet you. You don't let people change you, no matter what. But yeah, I really am grateful.
Zeus Masi, Biba, and
Masi.
basing on hamzuna tres na mempenatse corazonia esti tauto ni umeega. You are definitely touching the hearts and the minds of all those who are watching. We've gotten some comments. Biba, stay encouraged, everyone. I'm inspired by what you are all saying, and it compels me to learn and speak Chamorro to keep our culture alive. Sidus Masi, everyone, for sharing your stories. Biba. And then so much getting so much support. And thank you, what's it called? And I think I just appreciate all three of you, and I want to give each of you a chance to just share some final thoughts, some like a final thought, a final message from your own sort of experiences. And because remember that, there's different types of wisdom. There's the wisdom that comes from a lifetime. There's the wisdom that comes from just a few months of learning. And so, something that you want to share, whether in terms of your learning, and you've already shared a lot, but if there's something in particular, whether a story or something about the value of why it is important that we keep the language alive, that we learn the language, that we help others. You've already given some reasons, but I want to give a final chance for that. And so I think Jocelyn, maybe we'll go with you first, and then Jara, and then Senor Chris Hogwi Utimo. So Jocelyn, just a final, if you have any sort of final thoughts that you want to share in terms of, and it could be anything about why you think another reason why you think Chamorro is important, or sort of any wisdom that you've gotten so far in your learning journey that you want to share, anything at all.
Final thoughts, everyone listening, it is so worth it to take this class. Don't feel ashamed if you are a Posito right now, because one day you won't be. And one thing that I've learned from this class through Senor is find your why, and don't stop learning, and find ways to help you learn in everyday life. So Senor, you make me cry every time. Orientation, when I hear about your grandparents, I have to bring tissue because it's so similar to my why. And every time you say, or to share, I have enjoyed hearing that your why is your grandma, your nana, or both your grandparents. And because that hits to me on the depths of my heart, I have enjoyed watching your face light up and feeling some type of pride to see in a way that, within your lineage, it has come full circle and you're doing something that perhaps they weren't able to do. And that is so inspiring to me. It helped me find my why. It's helped me go through my grief journey, losing my tata, that they have made so many sacrifices to get me where I am today. And that is not going to be in vain. And they are here every time I need them to call up on them. Never stop learning. Don't be hard on yourself. And that is an everyday thing. Don't let that mamala get to you. Thank you, Senor, for providing all of these free resources to connect us with people, Chamorros all around the world. I love how you also encourage, everyone to participate the same way that many of us have taken, the Romantic languages throughout our academic career. And then 3, finding that way to incorporate Chamorro in everyday life. Mine has just been through the resources available, like my grandma's prayer books. I like being able to see, Chamorro written, and just help me kind of piece it together as I work through on how I'm going to learn it, academically, but also to speak it. And it could be through song or what have you. So find your thing. And then if you ever feel ashamed that you can't do it, I love how Senor, you have the WhatsApp chat. Drop that link in the chat, okay? Because you make us, I love how you make it part of the community, that there are resources available at our disposal. So do it for you. You can learn. You're not alone. And you might feel like you're alone, but you're not. And everyone is on their own journey. The first step is you have to make that choice. So those are my final thoughts. Thank you, Senor.
Sidus. And to Jara, if you have some final thoughts.
Hungan, just one more thought for you guys. Well, one, I wanted to say thank you so much, for allowing me to share and allowing all of us to talk to each other, because once again, that means so much. And thank you, Dr. Bevacqua, for everything that you've done for all of us, not just, the Pozitus, Punadera, Poza, for everybody, including, just pages we don't even know about. But thank you, like you do so much. You really do. Like you've done so much for everyone. And sometimes you need a day off. Okay? Take a day off. Take a vacation. Okay? Please take a vacation. That's not work related. But yeah, and what I want to say to everyone is definitely join this class. Learn Chamorro. Learn about who you are, because that's all you have in this world is who you are. You come in this world alone and you leave this world alone. So at least make sure you know who you're going to be leaving and who you're leaving with. And another thing I wanted to say was, don't let my nightmare of being the only Chamorro become you guys' reality. Don't let okay, when I say my nightmare being the only Chamorro, meaning no one else understands my language, no one else understands my music, like how to really take in the music. They hear the background and think it sounds nice. No, you need the background and the words to understand what's going on and actually feel the music. Okay, the food. Okay, it's been a long time since I had someone cook me some good cut dun manuk that I didn't have to cook myself. But just not having none of that around, don't let that become our reality. Seriously, please don't let it become our reality. Don't let us lose who we are as a people, because we are very beautiful people. We have to keep each other alive. And for people who have dreams, whatever you have to do to accomplish it, do it. People are going to tell you that you can't do it, but that's only because they tried and they didn't succeed. But you need to try your own time, and you need to do what you need to do to make sure that happens. It's you make your dream succeed. No one else is going to do it. And make sure that while you're doing that, you talk about Guam. Let people know where you're from. Teach them your language. And yeah, that's really it for all. Just keep Guam alive.
See, Ambassador. Chamorro Ambassador. Gidza Philadelphia, Gidza Pennsylvania, Hungan. Oh, Sidus Mase, Hungan. And we've got more comments coming in saying, to all of you, whatever effort you make to learn, thank you deeply for this. It warms my heart that our ancestors' gift continues to be perpetuated. Oh, and then one of your classmates says, I'm proud to be a Pudzitus, and then Biba Bonita na Chamorita. And so more Hungan, and then more comments coming in. Your stories are so heartfelt. Thank you for sharing, Sidus Masing. And so, yes, this is why I appreciate all three of you coming into this space and sharing, because it helps inspire others. It helps others come to terms with their own experience. And with that, I want to hand it off now to Senora Chris to share her I ultimo na hinasonya paresti. Zapuesta hutsumesti na podcast. Hungan. Senora, ti open ha dispensa.
Ay dispensa. So, hagumas, senyor, Sidus Masi, nitori bedadamo, sa sinhagut, hafa beitogi, and to matuhagi lina la hugi, the 22 na sakan fanan, 21 na sakan. Lo, si Juice Masi. Si Juice Masi lo ki todo hamzu ni man ega sa mala sa tafan ejak tafan danya sa tafan ejak gifinota. Hungen hutungut na man give ma apa tu mamalau hit no antisina man wentusik gifinota lo hasu esti para bagu para un hasu ta gwenau na mamala hau timalagu hau tumagi comentus hasu na hung hau per todo ile na la mo masay hafa malago mo para un so gui na hung hau utunga na anay hobinzu za praktika i katoliko na religion and malumu gi madzuus sa sen tijahu esti na sinangan na insasangan gi madzuus. I am not worthy. Gifino English. I am not worthy. Sen tijahu etu anay hobinzu lo paggugu na tiempo mas tijahu sa ti magahid edu ti edu malagot niya si Zeus ti katoliko lo hutungo si Zeus nagagigi corazonu gagigi tautahu gagigi tautau tori i tautau edza necesita matungo haji gwi za haji i tautau haji how no za por favor tungo na nahung how sa edu mas malago para i manumoro ni mangagi tori tano na manahung hit mihita fangwentus ki finota edu hat para pago si Diyos masi sana masi
Si Diyos masi, señora. Si Diyos masi, hamzo na tres, put ifinaton midzo per esti na bonito na podcast hungan. Zan, para hamzo la ni umega para umega hungan, nihita na la mona, por favor esti ifinota. Let's all do what we can to keep this language of ours alive. As all of our guests here shared today, it is important to us. And it is important to us even in ways that we may not realize unless it's gone, unless we are the only ones who remember it or who care about it. And so, megagi orizata muna hahasuhitnai ipuri balinya iprisisunya. And so we're being reminded every day of its value. Pues nihita attendi estina lectionnai. Let's heed these lessons and let's do what we can, whether we are pudzitos, whether we are punadera, whether we are bihun godzu. That's what my kids call me, bihun godzu, old man rooster. And so let's do what we can to keep this language alive. Si Dios masi, adios.